You open the fridge, there's nothing there. So what's it gonna be? Greasy pizza? Sad drive-thru burgers? Dish by Blue Apron is for nights like that. These are the pre-made meals of your dreams. At least 20 grams of protein, no artificial flavors or colors, no chopping, no cleanup, no guilt. Keep the flavor. Ditch the subscription. Get 20% off your first 2 orders with code APRON20. Terms and conditions apply. Visit blueapron.com/terms for more.
Hey, so Paul, how are you doing? Have you signed for anyone yet? Big money transfer over to Anfield Wrap?
No, I remain firmly committed to the Rantcast unless you're going to use me as leverage in a swap deal because my form has dipped so dramatically in the last 3 months or something.
Well, maybe that's it. Maybe we'll try and get swap deals. Just almost never happen except with Arsenal apparently. But I'm going to try and trade you to Arsenal Fan TV.
I mean, I think I'd take that. I think that would be more lucrative in the end. And also you get to hang out with troops. That'd be fun. But you'd have to watch Arsenal, and I cannot think of anything worse than having to watch Arsenal with a rooting interest on a long-term basis.
So you said before the show, maybe we should do our bonus content on just general football chat. Let's do a little preview of that. Best case scenario for Arsenal is Wenger retires, Wenger dies, or someone shoots him.
I mean, it's obviously he doesn't actually have to die. That is unnecessary. Technically, and even when David Moyes was the manager of Man United, I didn't wish death on him. He would not go out as a hero. He has the ship on Wenger going out as a hero sailed a really long time ago.
Nah, not if he dies. Not if he dies. Think of all those crappy rock stars who did bugger all during their careers. As soon as they OD on heroin, their music was sent down from heaven and sung by angels.
I mean, I can't think of one lionised musician who died who wasn't brilliant, and that's why they got lionised.
Oh well, tough luck, Arsene. Only overstayed his welcome, sort of 10 or 12 years.
10 years busted sell by day. Honestly, they are. I know I said this last year, but he's a disgrace. He's a genuine disgrace. Him not stepping down is an act of such prodigious selfishness. Like, it's obviously... I mean, he said himself, Ferguson has his horses, right? His horses and his wine, I think he might have said. Because football managers can't talk about each other without mentioning wine. It's in the contract. But what else do I have? Wenger's given up his entire life for Arsenal and is so dramatically unsuited to being a top-level Premier League manager now. It's beyond a joke. They're I think I looked it up. I think they're 20-something points off City.
Yeah, I mean, it's he's going to sell all their best players in this transfer window. He's going to take them out of Europe. They're going to finish 10th, and he'll retire having left them worse off than when he got to the club. Some interesting legacy going on there. Wenger's on the way down. Let me tell you about a manager who's on the way up. David Moyes. Yeah, that West Ham playing well.
Yeah, I'm not okay with it. I saw him celebrating a goal on Match of the Day, and it made me feel really uncomfortable. I recognise this is my issue, not Moyes's, but yeah.
I think it's widespread. What's that phenomenon when there's kind of widespread trauma in a society? Yeah. Anyway, Moyes did that to us, but look, that's an odd inroad to the podcast. We should be talking about Stoke City and Manchester United's fine victory over them.
Since we're on Arsenal, should we start with the transfer guff, and then do Stoke after that?
Guff it is. Will £35 million worth of guff be coming to Old Trafford then?
It's so weird, this. Honestly, like all my friends that I've been chatting to on WhatsApp and stuff, I think I'm annoying them with how... Well, Tom was annoyed with both of us for being negative Nancy's about the Alexis deal in the Rantcast WhatsApp chat, because I'm prepared to be completely wrong about this, and I can't wait to be really wrong about this, but spending the king's ransom on a 29-year-old who's in the middle of a terrible season and who... it's the style of play. Like, Alexis is obviously a brilliant player, but he's just been... His whole time at Arsenal, or certainly the latter half of his time at Arsenal, has been so me-centric that I just really worry about what he'll do to our attack, which struggles to look joined up at the best of times. So yeah, I'm strangely not excited about this deal. I'll get excited when it happens, But
I mean, look, on the upside, he's a top quality player, clearly. I don't think there's too much doubt about that. And he will score goals for United. And there's multiple positions in which he can play. Very good weapon for United to have. He is the player who will take on people and will get crosses in if he plays there. Probably more likely he'll play through the centre. But he'll play in the sort of number 10 role that Mourinho seems to like now, which is actually more of an attacking forward stroke midfielder, not a foot on the ball, create and sustain play sort of player.
Everyone,
and he's probably an upgrade on Lingard, right, in terms of quality.
I mean, this is the thing. So I've seen some people expressing doubt about what this would mean for Martial and Rashford, and I think there seems to be very little chance that Alexis will come in and play on the left. I mean, Mourinho's talked endlessly about the need for a player on the right. But the fact that it looks like there might actually be a swap deal and Mkhitaryan would be going out would definitely make me think that, this would just relegate Lingard to second choice number 10, really. And I mean, like Mourinho number 10. Ramdeuter. There you go.
I think that's probably the most likely scenario. So those are the upsides. The downsides are he's getting on a bit. It's a huge amount of money. And he is very me-centric, all the press about him says that actually probably the most important thing for him right now is getting the best deal he possibly can. But, why not? It's his final great contract, I would think. And so we're getting a bit of an ego, in one who's not turned it on at Arsenal's darkest hour, at least the latest darkest hour.
I mean, a friend of mine said that really a lot of his worst kind of me-centric behaviour on the pitch has been as a consequence of how frustrated he is at Arsenal. And that does make sense. And maybe at United he would, feel like he was surrounded by better players. Well, no question about it. He'd be surrounded by better players at United. The one thing that
actually, I find it weirder, the concept that he would go and play with Pep Guardiola again. Look, he's going to fit in. Like, United's not a team at the moment, at least not in an attacking sense. Lots of very talented individuals that sometimes look like they're working as a team. At City, where they've got a machine that's purring really well, perhaps not purring so well at Anfield the other night, and he'd come in and be more disruptive. He's also a player who keeps the ball far too long for a Pep team, and didn't Pep sell him in the first place? And it seems an odd one. It seems like he's not a natural Pep player.
No, but for all the still reporting was that Pep was very keen. As someone else said to me, I think there's a bit of a problem when Manchester City are balking at the amount of money involved, and Man United are just like, it's fine, we'll pay the money. There's a slight role reversal there, isn't there?
There is a role reversal, although I have to say I found the narrative of some Spanish-based journalists and their acolytes a bit rich. I mean, honestly, like kind of making out that City were, somehow on a moral high horse when it comes to money. And United were throwing it around in some kind of gauche manner was, I think not very cognizant of the last sort of 8 or 9 years of history, was it? Or the fact that, United fans are quite happy with this because we've seen owners take £1 billion out of the club rather than down the road where they've stuck about that much into it.
I mean, Okay, so putting aside my slightly uncharacteristic grumpiness about the player, which I promise everyone, I'll totally put that aside and just be excited and buzzing if he does sign. There is this thing of... So when Ferguson signed Van Persie, it was clearly a move of profound opportunism. And it gave the club an enormous short-term lift. It was easily worth the transfer fee just for the fact that it won us that Premier League in Ferguson's last season, and that's priceless, you know. But of course, then after that, Van Persie's decline was absolutely... I mean, it was dramatic. He had 2/3 of a good season at United. Van Persie did, if you look at it in totality, because there was that middle bit of the season, the first season, where he was battling with injuries. But, you know, so in totality, that opportunistic signing, we all think of it as having worked out spectacularly, because it did in terms of short-term lift. But over the long term, it was very expensive and not how you kind of want to run a club. I'm not saying we shouldn't have signed him, obviously, because it was worth it. But Alexis is not going to win us the league this season, clearly. It's not at all obvious that he'll win us the league next season either. So he's unlikely to have the same level of kind of binary impact as Van Persie did. And yet it's equally opportunistic. It's like, oh, wait a minute, maybe if we throw enough money at this, we can get him to come to the other Manchester club.
It's very opportunistic, yeah. I mean, what he might do, of course, is that little bit of extra quality in the big games that United have been struggling with. Of course, we'd have to get out of our own third of the pitch, you know, where the double bus is parked firmly at the moment. Maybe it'll encourage Mourinho to attack a bit more. I kind of get your point there. It's also not where United are at. United are 15 points behind or 12 points behind City. And in fact, as I spoke about at length on last week's pod, really should be an awful lot more behind. I noticed a few people came out with this data this week as well. Not saying that they listen to the pod, or it's just, you know, it's an obvious conclusion to draw, I suppose. And so, you know, actually what we need now are quality players when we can get them. So it's very opportunistic. It's very much Woodward-esque, isn't it? There doesn't appear to be any kind of plan. I think you wouldn't know because you're not on Twitter anymore, but I compared it to a teenager fumbling around with a bra strap. You know, there's no dexterity to it whatsoever, United's transfer strategy. Most likely, if Mkhitaryan goes the other way and Sanchez does come in, we're paying Sanchez's agent a fortune, and we'll probably pay Mino Raiola a fortune to get rid of the player we paid him a fortune to bring in 18 months ago.
Yes, also remarkable stories coming out about Mkhitaryan's wages. Like, he is being paid a great deal of money at Man United.
Well, it's, you know, I know this is going to be a hindsight analysis, but you know, you had a confidence player who had a certain type of quote unquote philosophy about how to play football. A whole bunch of people who are, you know, bigger and deeper watchers of the Bundesliga than me saying, not sure he's a good fit with Mourinho. And Mourinho, who is my way or the highway, no subtlety in his personal management style whatsoever. You know, you're running through brick walls for him or not. And everyone accepts that, you know, and it, in hindsight, and this is deep hindsight, doesn't feel like a very good fit, does it?
No, and it's ironic because skill set wise, it felt like a brilliant fit. It felt like, actually, this is exactly what we need, particularly if he's going to play on the right regularly. That was my real excitement about Mkhitaryan, is because that was clearly where the gap was. But actually, he's been something of it. I think he's had maybe one good game there, and most of his better games have been at number 10. And I'll be really sad to see the end of the Mkhitaryan experiment, just because he's a player that on his day, I love watching him. He's brought...
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, look, he's a way better player than we've been seeing this season.
Yeah.
You know, and look, there's one narrative that says he really only had one good season, one great season in the Bundesliga, and maybe that was the outlier. And, you know, what we're seeing now is not the outlier. So, you know, that's one way of thinking about it. Maybe he's just a very good player that needs to play in a team that gets the ball to his feet in the right kind of areas more often.
I mean, maybe, but I wonder how much of this is technical or tactical, and how much of it is just that when the ball, well, however you get the ball to Mkhitaryan at the moment, he's going to shank it, because that's what he's just done every time. Not every time, but he's misplaced. He's misused the ball so often this season that isn't about. That's about.
I mean, what do you think about an attack then that's on form? Is Martial, Sanchez? We're making some big assumptions.
Yeah,
it's going to be especially funny this podcast when he turns up at Stamford Bridge next week, and Mata, I guess, because actually for all the talk of Mourinho wanting to ship Mata out, plays him more often than not.
Yeah,
and Lukaku up front. There's certainly some talent there.
Yeah, and I think at the moment Martial, Mata, and Lingard, or Martial, Lingard, and Mata is the best three behind the striker combination for balance. I was very inarticulate about this, but I was trying to express how much I'm enjoying how that's working tactically, and that was really, when we come to talk about the Stoke game, that was really, really evident. Mata was so important to that Stoke performance, just tied everything together, and I think you could easily sort of say you go Martial, Lingard, Sanchez. Well, that's really devastating to defences. But I think you need Mata in there to knit things together. And there's an enormous amount of talent there. And even though Lingard's in a huge purple patch and he's genuinely playing absolutely brilliantly at the moment, we don't know how sustainable that's going to be. And Sanchez is obviously an upgrade on that. And Lingard would be a heck of a backup to have, because he can back up any of the three positions, really.
Yeah, this is, I guess, the only transfer we know of to date. The plans were always to bring in a left back. Doesn't seem like that's needed anymore, does it?
No, it's good, isn't it?
Luke Shaw is back, and hopefully that's for good, because if he is, it's going to save United spunking £40 million on an inferior player in Danny Rose. Could well do with a right back, though, at least some cover there, because Darmian is awful and Valencia's not having a great season, honestly.
Well, come on. This is not the week to say that,
Ed. Although he just scored a screamer, of course, yeah. And I'm sure what Jose would really want is a top quality central midfielder to complement what he's got in there already.
Yeah, but I mean, the Sanchez thing is it's like Mourinho said, if a player like that becomes available, doesn't matter if it's January or March or whenever. It was well, I think it probably matters if it's March, Jose. They won't be allowed. But no, it's that is the kind of signing you make in January. But I mean, I would be shocked to my tiptoes if we sign a quality central midfielder in January. I imagine if we do get Sanchez, it'll just be Sanchez, I would guess.
Most likely, especially given the numbers. Although there may not be a lot of cash changing hands, it looks like. Awful lot of cash going into Mr. Sanchez's back pocket. Should we talk about football then?
Yeah,
rather than transfers. There was a game this week and it was quite good.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. It was so fun. I don't know. It was just stupid fun, wasn't it? I mean, this is the arena in which Mourinho's United is so head and shoulders above any version of United since Fergie retired.
Or battering crappy teams.
Yeah, and doing it in with a kind of joie de vivre that's it's so worth watching Man United now. You're going to see some brilliant football and players having fun and getting on with each other and, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there have been a few misses in terms of battering crappy teams. Not too many, but quite a lot of hits. And I suppose the only thing that was a little bit off about this game was the fact that it finished 3-0 and not 4-0, which is the standard go-to scoreline, isn't it, for beating these shitty teams? I mean, Stoke haven't got a manager. They've just appointed Paul Lambert. Interesting choice. Probably not a very popular one. But so say people in the game, a better coach than his really awful record suggests. Good luck, Stoke. Yeah. Currently in the bottom three, Stoke. And they were really poor. I mean, just really, they created a few chances in the first half.
Yeah, I mean,
almost nothing at all in the second half.
At 1-0. It was pretty hairy for a bit. Stephen Ireland was really tearing it
true.
up.
He had a very, very good chance, didn't he, Stephen Ireland, at 1-0. But I mean, as soon as it was 2-0, it was United were in complete control of this game.
Yeah. Lovely goals. Like, we need to talk about the fact that Antonio Valencia didn't just score a screamer. The fact that Antonio Valencia scoring a screamer is... It doesn't happen every week, but it's not so surprising when it happens. Antonio Valencia scoring a screamer with his left foot is when you start looking out the window and making sure that the clouds haven't turned like purple. You
you buy a ticket, you win the lottery, don't you? You took a real swing at it. And it smacked into the top corner. I saw some data today on Jack Butland. He because I think he's a very talented keeper. He's having a really bad season. His the XG against. Sorry, this is really boring, people, isn't it? It's way higher than it should be. The complete opposite picture to David De Gea. In any case, don't think he could have done much about that.
No. There was a very funny line on commentary. I was watching it on Sky, and I think Danny Murphy was the co-commentator. It might have been... Yeah, I think it was Danny Murphy. But he said, you've got to show him down the line there. And I was like, show him down the line? That's Antonio Valencia. You don't need to show him down the line onto his right foot. You need to shuffle him onto his left foot, which he can't do anything with. And all right, 1 in 50,000 times he'll score a screamer. But I do not think it's good advice to defenders to not try and show Antonio Valencia outside.
Yes, is this the same Danny Murphy whose analysis of Naby Keita, really high quality central midfielder, unfortunately going to Liverpool, was something along the lines of, he's not tried very hard. Yes, you don't need to show Antonio Valencia down the line. You can show him the left foot. He's not Arjen Robben, is he?
No, but he turned into him briefly, and it was a beautiful sight.
What was beautiful was the second goal. I can't tell you how hard that technique must be. He's passed that with some incredible power into the top corner from Pogba's sidewards ball.
At that point, Pogba had 4 assists in a row for absolute worldies from outside the box. Brilliant. Pogba just keeps shuffling sideways passes to, I think it was, can't even remember, maybe Martial twice, Lingard and Valencia. I can't remember who it was that scored the other goal against Derby that wasn't Lingard. But yeah, 4 assists in a row for Pogba just from sideways passes. Good ones though. Like the pass from Pogba to Martial was really smart in that moment, and Martial did brilliantly, as he is wont to do. Although, needs to give 5% more, according to Carragher and Neville, on baffling analysis. I just, at my wit's end with that. I just don't know what they're talking about. Those two aren't idiots, they're pretty good normally. So I don't know. Neville's always had a bee in his bonnet about Martial, hasn't he? So
doesn't smile enough. That's the problem. Although he gave a big broad grin after he'd scored that goal.
Certainly did. And Lukaku went to not celebrate and then went, oh no, wait a minute, I'm supposed to celebrate now, and went mad. Like, it was lovely to see him score, and I thought he had an excellent game. I thought his all-round play was superb all the way through that game. There was a couple of moments where he could have maybe actually, it was everything but the fox in the box stuff that he was getting right. But there's not that many strikers in the Premier League that would have kind of held off the defender in that way and scored like that.
No, it's a really fine goal. I mean, given that Martial's absolutely hammered that into him.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, the criticism of Lukaku is fair, that kind of thing bounces off his shins. It didn't this time. He's controlled it in the midriff, just avoided the handball, and has brilliantly held off 2 defenders and lashed it in.
Yeah,
really, really fine goal. Exactly what United bought him for.
Other highlights of that game. I mean, like I said, I thought Mata was just excellent in that game. I just thought so much of our, it's clear in a against a team like that, he has got a genuinely free role, and so much of our good stuff was him and Pogba and Lingard and Martial and Lukaku all, exchanging partners, exchanging passes. Absolutely clear about this.
Keep party at Old Trafford these days.
That was a misspeak. And occasionally Matic joining in too, and Luke Shaw backing him up, Valencia backing him up to a lesser extent too. So lots of very good interplay, very defensively vulnerable, I thought, in the first half. Right, we could fairly easy to cut open. Phil Jones with that absolutely brilliant block at one point. when there was the really big chance.
Captain Phil Jones.
Wasn't
he captain for the night?
I didn't spot that. Well, good on him if he was. Well deserved.
I think I may be making that up.
Okay.
But something in my head said that was right. Could be lying about that one. I thought Pogba was the standout player, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
He's this is the Pogba that we all wanted, and he's showing it every single week now. Putting up great numbers. You mentioned the assists. He's got really good number of assists. Got a few goals. We'd like him to score a few more, but he's controlling games.
Yeah, and the not so much in this game, but recently that's been about a change of system, hasn't it? But in this game, there was certainly no need to play a 4-3-3 because Pogba could just basically join the attack at will. But I think that's probably why there was that kind of systemic vulnerability in the middle of the park during the first half, which led to some issues.
All right. Well, that was good. Back on track, and needed that victory, especially with City losing. Did you see the Liverpool City game? That was a bit of a cracker, wasn't it? Saturday night.
Yeah, I think we'll talk about that in the bonus content. Antonio Valencia was captain in that game. I just looked it up. All right. So not Phil Jones, sadly. There was one other thing that I wanted to mention about the Stoke game, which was when Mourinho made the substitutions. Lingard was kind of like walking off the pitch slowly, as you would do. And Rashford, Fellaini was coming on for Lingard, but Rashford was coming on for Martial, obviously. But while Lingard was walking off slowly, Rashford just looked at him and went, "Hurry up, it's freezing." It's just brilliant. It's lovely. The two of them clearly getting on very well in Dubai. Did you see any of the social media output of the Manchester United lads in Dubai, Ed?
Not really. I thought you weren't doing social media anymore.
No, I'm just not doing Twitter.
So you're in the other image-based hole of villainy and scum.
Sure,
is Instagram,
but I'm not. I don't have to.
I saw a little bit of it. I didn't pay an awful lot of attention. What were the highlights?
They looked like they were having a good time. The highlights were Jesse Lingard is always the highlight of Man United social media output, apart from when Lukaku put them all singing in the dressing room, or a few of them singing in the dressing room after the Stoke game. But Jesse Lingard's Instagram story. And Snapchat story of them visiting a zoo. Didn't look very nice, that zoo, though. And I was a bit worried about some of the big cats in that zoo. I thought, doesn't look like ideal conditions, in my opinion, for they visit.
What, in the middle of the desert?
They visited a liger, It was dark, you couldn't really see, but it looked a bit grim, I thought. But they were all having a lovely time, and they all seem to. There seems to be a genuine team spirit in this squad, which is nice to see because. Like we've said, I guess, many times in the past, it's easy to have team spirit when you're flying at the top of the table. But this team is facing some degree of adversity, but they seem to be pretty committed to fighting through it together, which is good.
Yeah. I mean, what they are in is a four-way fight for Champions League places.
Yeah.
I mean, Spurs are 6 points behind United, but that's only that's 6 points covering second to fifth. That's not much of a swing. And, in 15 games that we've got left, it's going to be a real dogfight.
Yeah.
It's in fact only one swing the wrong way for United to end up in fourth, which is, playing in Russia or somewhere in the qualifying rounds next July.
But that's two swings, isn't it? It's not one swing because both teams have to leapfrog United to get into that mess. And
yes, and we've got to play Liverpool and Chelsea again.
And I think
both of them. So, I get what you mean, but it doesn't mean there doesn't have to be a collapse on behalf of United to be outpointed in the second half of the season. Yeah, it's 3 points.
No, but I've been reflecting quite a lot on the stuff around the data that you were talking about last week and the kind of and where United are at versus where they inverted commas should be at. And I think what that data shows us is our kind of suspicion that there have been quite a lot of games where United weren't that good is pretty fair. But what I don't think is it's not like we've been randomly scraping a load of victories and are really lucky to be in the position we're in. Like It would take an awful lot to convince me that the story that the data is telling is really that, because that's so at odds with what the experience have been watching United for most of this season. Like, I'd remain fairly confident that United are going to be able to pick up consistent results against the teams that are worse than them in the second half of the season, just because we've got so many good players. You know, this is by far the best team since 12-13, and it might even be a better team in terms of just the sheer quality of players and where they're at in their career than 12-13. It's not as good as a collective functioning whole, obviously, but, you know, I remain like, I think it would be quite surprising if we don't end up finishing the season in second or third place.
Okay. It's one game in it between second and fourth, so it wouldn't be that much of a shock, and certainly none of the models would show that there's too much between these teams. But just goes to say, this is, you know, it's going to be tight. Maybe United are the second best team in the country, but it's not by much. Based on form or data. So, you know, victories like the one against Stoke was really important.
Yeah.
Victories against Burnley next week will also be very important, a team that's not playing very well at the moment.
No, by far they're... Well, should we do some Twitter questions and then preview Burnley?
Yeah, let's stick to the normal format. Talking of social media, before I forget, did you happen to see? This is very cruel. You know, Ryan Giggs took the Wales job this week. That time he's been seeking a job. He's been on the dole for like 4 years.
Didn't you say literally last week he's never going to get a job? Wasn't that on this podcast last week?
Yeah. Well, you know, I was hoping reverse psychology would work or something like that. Anyway, so he's taken the Wales job, and some cruel japester has tweeted out video of Ryan Giggs' sort of pre-match analysis. It's not in the dressing room. It's sort of video analysis of his last game in charge of Manchester United as temporary boss. And I have to say, it's cruelly hilarious just how bad he is. His punditry was fully in the media room there. And it's pretty dry stuff anyway, but I'm hoping there's more strings to his management bow than that.
Are you hoping that? Like, are we rooting for Ryan Giggs? Is that where we're at as a collective at the moment? Like,
why not? United legend Ryan Giggs.
I mean, obviously, not like in a way, kind of the definitive United legend, but also quite possibly absolutely abhorrent human Ryan Giggs.
No, he did a bit of philandering. It was all consensual, we think. So
that was his brother's wife, though. Like, is that story not true? Like, if that story's not true, then fair enough. But I don't know. I find it hard to be emotionally invested in Ryan Giggs these days. Also, it's hard not to suspect he's going to do an absolutely terrible job with Wales. Also, it feels weird that a player whose entire reputation about his time with the national team was based on him, like, basically not turning up whenever it was possible. You know, it seems like a slightly odd fit.
Well, that might have been Fergie's doing. Anyway, on to some Rantcast questions.
Okay.
There's Andy Mitten put out a piece today saying that United and Mourinho are close to agreeing a new contract. So his contract runs out in 2019. It may go on a bit further. Some people seem to think we've got an agenda against Mourinho. It's not true. So some people, some people cannot accept nuanced discussion and analysis. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
You know who you are, the who emailed me. Apparently you're supposed to tell me to calm down, by the way, and other suggestions of that nature. What state do you think Jose will leave United in? Ready for a manager with a specific ethos? Question mark, says 8% Android on Twitter.
It's a great question. Historically, teams tend to do really well after Mourinho leaves. I think Inter's probably the except in Chelsea the first time round ran into an absolutely brilliant United team, but made it to the Champions League final, and a couple of years later won the Champions League. Real Madrid obviously won the Champions League, I think, was it it wasn't the 2 seasons in a row back to back, was it? Or anyway, they certainly won the Champions League in the season after he left, didn't they?
Yeah. Zidane.
Well, there was Benitez, right? And Ancelotti was after Mourinho, was he?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. And Zidane won it in his first season in charge. Did he win it again after that?
And I think Ancelotti won it, and then they didn't win it one year, and then they won it twice in a row, or something like that. I can't remember. Anyway, they've done all right for themselves, haven't they? In the aftermath.
Yeah, not currently doing great in La Liga at the moment.
No.
More rumours this week that Ronaldo may be on his way out. I think he's just looking for someone to pay his tax bill, isn't he? Anyway, I think he'll leave it in a stronger position than when he came, if there isn't some mega meltdown. And I guess the hierarchy are confident, if they really are close to agreeing a new contract with him, that there won't be a mega meltdown, because they'll be paying off his contract for a very long time. Van Gaal this week came out and said that he refused to take the Belgium job to spite United and get the final year of his contract.
I love him so much. Like, he's a bad man. Like, he took Raphael away from us. It's not okay. But, he is funny. He is funny.
Odd. Anyway, at Stan_Chow, very famous artist now, Stan Chow, has Luke Shaw done enough to be first choice left back for the rest of the season? And on a similar theme, at Ryan Terpstra 93 says, how bad was Shaw's defensive positioning in the first half versus Stoke? Clue, very. I'm not sure it was that bad, although, as we mentioned, there were a few chances given away. Has he done enough to be first choice left back for the rest of the season? Surely. There's not much competition, is there? Surely he's done enough.
Yeah, like, his job is to be a better left back than Ashley Young. That's the bar, and he's definitely that. I think so.
Cameron Borthwick-Jackson is on his way back from his loan at Leeds.
CBJ
I don't know whether that means he's figuring in the first team picture. He's had a few difficult loan spells, Cameron has.
Yeah, and also, like, the extent to which Borthwick-Jackson is more Van Gaal than Mourinho simply cannot be overstated. I think Shaw's done enough, because not least of which because of how much he gives going forward, and he is still at the stage of his career where he can make up for a lot of his defensive positioning errors with just outright speed, in the kind of way that Rio Ferdinand did early in his career. I think the good of Shaw seriously outweighs the bad of Shaw.
Whole bunch of questions on Sanchez, as you'd expect.
Yeah.
From at the Lone Racer, at Front Row United, a bunch of others. Where do you expect him to play? And if Sanchez and Ozil signed, what would you expect the team formation to be?
I've got a question as well by email from Declan Diamond, who's sort of asking whether we'd be concerned about the progression of Martial and Rashford if Sanchez comes. And I have to say, he was saying that he doesn't think he would be too concerned about that, and I'd have to agree that I think Lingard's progression might be negatively affected, and maybe Juan Mata's role in the side would be diminished. I think those are the two players who'd be vulnerable, because
does this mean no Antoine Griezmann?
Well, that's a great question, isn't it? Because then we'd really be talking about someone in that attacking. It just seems to me that this is not the area in the pitch which we maybe one more would be good. Sanchez or Ozil or Griezmann, but you don't need more than one of them based on the players we've already got there. And when our attacking play looks bad, it's very rarely the players that were on the pitch against Stoke don't seem to be the problem here.
No, right. Although not so much in the big games. At JSF_7 says, what's your opinion on how Sanchez will handle the fact that he's going to be understudy to Messi Lingard?
Well, if that was the case, I suspect he would handle it very poorly indeed. Well, that would be my guess.
Yeah, he also says, miss you, Paulino. There's an awful lot of soppy on Twitter, I've got to say. Ask Paul to come back. Boo-hoo, cry me a river.
Are you
Like, since you're not on Twitter, I need to troll you live in person.
Cheers, just to keep my guard up a little bit.
That's right.
Save me from being too like happy and comfortable and peaceful in my life.
Good. Don't like that. Yeah. At Quessy_20 says, how do Sanchez's scorpion kick stats compare to Mickey's? Well, he's 0-1.
Yeah,
sure.
exactly. And like this is what I was trying to say earlier about Mkhitaryan was not necessarily. I mean, obviously, like it's not working. But that scorpion kick is a brilliant example of why I love Mkhitaryan, just because he's so improvisational and so talented and so able to do like amazing stuff. And so just like style-wise, he's the kind of player I really like.
Matthew Stiuge, S-T-I-U-G-E. I never know how to pronounce that. Mm-hmm. When do we stop with this sensible spending stuff and just go for a premium squad talent to improve our starting 11? About time we financially doped like every other club. I'm not sure that's a question. It's a statement. I agree. I want money on the pitch.
Well, I mean, the thing is, financial doping is about getting money from areas other than football, isn't it? And, you know...
Yeah, so we work out a way to sell off all the Glazers' dirty strip malls, bring it back to the club and spend all that money.
Yeah, that would be some financial doping. No, I mean, you know, listen, this has been the model, hasn't it? Look at the last 2 seasons. Zlatan, Pogba, Mkhitaryan, not so much Eric Bailly. Last season, Lukaku. Who else did we sign in the summer? It seems so long ago now, Ed. Of Matic. I mean, absolutely Route 1 premium type player. Oh my God, I'm really embarrassed. I can't think of the third player we signed this summer. I mean, we signed Zlatan back, but that's not
Lindelof.
Lindelof, right, there you go. So that doesn't fit into that category.
Who apparently earns more than Martial.
But at least half of those players fit into that category. We are doing that, aren't we? That is the current United model.
Would Paul come back to Twitter in exchange for De Gea's ponytail being transferred to the bin, says @Felled by Magpie.
No.
No, you wouldn't. If David De Gea, if I get David De Gea to say, yeah, I'll chop my ponytail off in order that you come back to Twitter, you wouldn't cut it out? You wouldn't come back?
Obviously not, because that wouldn't benefit. I don't really mind it that much. It's all right now. It's grown a bit longer. It's kind of more acceptable. But also, I mean, if David De Gea says, like, I will stay at Man United for the rest of my career, I might think about it. But David De Gea stays for the rest of his career plus cash, then I'm in.
At Joey M_UX says, when will Angel Gomez be slotted in the first team? Did we call it Angel or Angel?
Angel.
Angel,
straight
exactly,
up Angel.
Yeah.
Yep, Angel
since
Gomez.
he's from Manchester.
London, but yeah.
P.S. Twitter is less entertaining without Paul. God, I mean, this is like one big cocksucking fest here, isn't it?
I don't know if you know this, right, but one of the means by which humans can interact is by being kind to each other and like saying nice things, and that isn't weird. That's like a normal, good, healthy way of relating to other humans.
There's a great passage in The Fire and the Fury, this book about Donald Trump that you may have heard about in the press, in which they bring in the mooch, this wide boy. I don't know if that's the term for Americans, but, you know, he's a wide boy. Yeah. Trader who had a sort of fund of funds, and he comes in as communications director and starts slagging everyone off, and he gets drunk at a party with a New Yorker reporter and starts describing Steve Bannon as being able to suck his own cock. And it's metaphorical, but of course, being the New Yorker, being the uber fact checkers that they are. And this story went around. The second bit didn't. The first Bannon hears about it is when a fact checker from New Yorker calls him up and says, yeah, we've heard that you are able to fellate yourself. Is this true?
Oh, God, that's very New Yorker.
Very New Yorker. Anyway, I digress.
The mooch who lasted less time in the Trump administration than Mkhitaryan's going to manage at Old Trafford.
He managed 10 days, yeah. Which is, well, you know, they're an entertaining 10 days. I'm not sure Mkhitaryan has given us 10 days worth of entertainment.
Of course he has. No, I'm not having this. There's a lot of revisionism about Mkhitaryan. Like, last year, Europa League campaign, he was excellent. And then when he came back into the side in the league at the back end of last season, he was really good too. So, no, it's not all been flop. It's just been, it started badly and then it's ending badly too. Had an all right bit in the middle.
All right. Last question. At Frank_Grotens asks, and this is the kind of question you like. Would you rather win the Premier League in a dramatic run-in over City, or win the Champions League with a Marcus Rashford screamer in the final? I'll tell you what, actually, we didn't really talk about this, but I do wonder whether Sanchez might give United a fighting chance in the Champions League of good draw. Sevilla not playing that well. You'd expect United to make the quarters, but semi-finals or final right now is not looking. It's not looking beyond United by any means.
No, and that would be a big difference. That's such a difficult question. It's so difficult because on the one hand, the Champions League is this like mystical thing. We've only won it 3 times. It's harder to win the Champions League than the league in a way, isn't it? But on the other hand, you can fluke the Champions League and you can't really fluke the league. And it would be so incredible to win the league this season with everything that's gone on in the first half of the season. It would be such an amazing buzz. And imagine the trophy celebrations in Manchester if we won the league off City this season. That'd be something else. But then on the other hand, we could make the old argument that, just like 1968, all right, they win the league, we're going to win the European Cup to outshine
Either
them.
would be good.
Yeah.
Either would be. Of course, Pep can't suck his own cock because Guillaume Balaguer is too busy doing it for him.
So if you... the spirit of the question is that you have to pick one. And I
take the league. It's always about, I know the promised land is in Europe and all that, and the one-upmanship would be pretty sweet, but I still think it's the league for me, and it's been 5 years, So, important to get that in. Okay, that's questions. I didn't ask all of them by any means, millions of questions, and, I'm probably not doing a very good job reading them out because it's not been my job for 4 years.
Sorry about that.
Making me do extra work.
That's
right.
Outrageous.
Stoke, now, since I've had to read all those questions out, you've got to do deep analysis on, not Stoke, Burnley. Give it to us.
Well, it's fascinating, isn't it? Because all the way through the first half of the season, I mean, they are still 7th in the league, which is absolutely miraculous, especially given the fact that they've only scored 19 goals. To put that in the context, 16th, you have to go down to 16th in the league to find a team that have scored fewer goals than them, and then you have to keep going down to only West Brom and Swansea at the bottom of the league. So there are only 3 teams in the division that have scored fewer goals than Burnley this season. 2 of those 19 goals came against us, of course, which is a dramatically over 10% of their goals have been scored against Man United.
Sorry to get all nerdy on this as well, but their XG is actually only 16 goals as well, so they've got a bit lucky there.
Well, no, that's the thing, because in a way, the consistency of their results is a bit of a challenge to the existing XG models, because
No, I think that's right. Yeah,
they defend so deep that they give up chances that would generally be considered by those models to be good chances, but actually against Burnley they're not that good chances because there's 4 defenders between them and the goal. So it's a strange and novel approach to the Premier League, and I think even Sean Dyche in his more honest moments would probably admit that the results was slight overperformance on the first half of the season, and I think it's very unlikely that they'll finish the league in 7th, particularly if their form continues like it's been, because the last game they won was against Stoke on the 12th of December, which is a really long time ago. The one sort of bit that you could say in defence of them is that their most recent game against Crystal Palace finished 1-0 to Palace, but Burnley were pretty unlucky in that game. Palace were excellent in the first half, but then Burnley really grew into that game in the second half and were kind of pretty unlucky not to get a result. But they've had some dodgy results in amongst this. They failed to beat Huddersfield away, although I kind of feel like Christmas results in a way you have to slightly discount given the kind of schedule that all these teams had. They got battered by Spurs at home. They got battered by City away in the Cup. They held Liverpool to a 2-1 on New Year's Day. They're not doing, even in this bad run, they haven't been totally disastrous.
No, just a City result, but and they've had some tough games. they're a complete anomaly. They don't score very many goals. They hardly take any shots. None of the players take any shots. All their strength is at the back. Me and Tarkowski and in Defoe and Arfield, who play sort of very defensive in midfield. And they try to be a solid team, which is a struggle if you go down at home. That kind of scenario.
Yeah.
United get an early goal in this game, they win it, surely.
Yes, I think that you would think that that's the case. And even I guess in a way, that Burnley draw at home is in our sort of top 5 worst results of the season, isn't it? It was really poor result given that, we conceded 2 goals to Burnley, but it was pretty freakish from what I understand, like a really good free kick and all that sort of thing. I think there's an interesting point to be made about their 2 centre halves, because they're both attracting a great deal of praise, but just like Michael Keane did last season, and he's not really been able to replicate that form at Everton. You wonder how much of this is about just Dyche and his team are just really good at drilling centre back. So kind of whoever you put in there, as long as they meet the kind of basic skill set formula, they're going to be able to look good in that defence.
Yeah, right. I mean, he's certainly is the whole team unit is very important, and I don't know whether I wouldn't say Keane's had a bad season at Everton any worse than any of the other players at Everton.
No,
and generally Everton not having a great season.
Nope.
Would players fish out of water be really poor? I don't know. I mean, years ago, of course, that used to happen at Nottingham Forest, didn't it? Brilliant Forest teams under Clough and the players, 2 of them famously ending up at United in Birtles and Webb, being utter rubbish when they got to Old Trafford.
I mean, then there was one other that ended up at Old Trafford that did all right, if we remember, wasn't there?
Occasionally.
Yeah. I mean, the literal best midfielder in the history of Manchester United is all I'm saying. One of the things about Burnley is that their core unit has played together an enormous amount. So like more than 1,800 minutes on the pitch each for Tarkowski, me, Defoe and Cork, which is the solid core centre of that team. And one of the things that United are going to have to do, I suspect, is create a lot of chances in this game, because Burnley block so many chances I think it's going to be, we have made a real stock in trade of scoring screamers from outside the box, haven't we? And we've got players that can kind of do that almost consistently. I wonder if this game gets tight, we are going to see a lot of shots
shoot on sight,
25 yards.
Shoot on sight, and I think it's not a bad policy, to be honest, against Burnley. You've got to take your chance for where you can get it. The one thing that counts against United is that we hardly ever get to the byline and put a cross in.
Yeah.
And definitely not a successful one. Right down the bottom of the Premier League for successful crosses, and that's because our wingers, such as they are always inverted and not really wingers. So it may well take something special, but maybe that opens the game up if that's early in the game. If not, it'll get to squeaky bum time late in the game, and we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, we are definitely, the rest of this season is about consolidating Champions League position, isn't it? That's what the rest of this season's about. So I mean, this is an important game. It's not oh my goodness, it's a total disaster if we don't get a result in this game in the way that it would be if we were fighting tooth and nail to win the league. But it would be upsetting, no doubt, if we didn't.
What, then we'd only be a draw behind Liverpool and Chelsea if they win this weekend.
Yeah, exactly. So what's your actual prediction for this game? What do you actually think is going to happen?
I'm Burnley playing rubbish at the moment, so I think United are going to win 2-1. Will Burnley score a goal? Maybe.
I don't think Burnley are playing rubbish at the moment. I think Burnley...
Who's going to start at the back, actually? Is it going to be Tweedledum and Tweedledee again?
You can't... Phil Jones does not belong in this category. Like, Phil Jones is not Tweedledum.
Yeah, but Smalling brings him down to his level.
Yeah, I guess there's a more than decent chance it'll be the two of them, unless I'd have no idea when Eric Bailly's due back.
Nah, he's not back for a while yet.
Right, so I don't see that it's likely to. But there's no real need for rotation, and there certainly wasn't against Stoke. So you'd imagine that's what Mourinho thinks of as his first choice defence at the moment.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So victory for United, probably much needed. I don't actually know who Liverpool and Chelsea are playing at the weekend, but let's hope they drop some points.
Who cares? They're rubbish buddies anyway.
Yeah, actually, it's Spurs that we need to look at. 4 wins in the last 5 in the league, and Kane still knocking in the goals. It's they are the form team aside from City.
But City aren't the form team anymore, are they? The Invincibles. They were.
Yeah, at least they'll stop that pile of nonsense, won't it? And I'm sure they'll lose another couple before the end of the season, because that's what happens.
Yeah, that's
a lot of games to play, and you can't be brilliant all the time.
That's why it's a big thing when a team goes through the league unbeaten, or more accurately, that's why in order to go through the league unbeaten, you have to completely sacrifice
give up on the idea of winning a game ever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that actually it's a cowardly achievement befitting of Arsene Wenger's legacy.
You really hate your fellow Frenchman, don't you? I think this is unpatriotic in some way.
I don't hate him at all. I feel like he is a character from a Shakespearean tragedy brought to life. Like his own hubris is the thing. Are
you saying he should take his own life?
No, not at all.
This is a tragedy.
No, I want him to have catharsis within this existence. Not in...
He is constant as a northern star.
Constantly in the darkness.
Yeah, of course, we've got another game to talk about, really, because I'm not sure. Well, no. Actually, we will do a pod about this time next week, won't we?
Yeah, exactly.
And we can preview the Friday Night Lights again at the mighty Yeovil Town. I mean, I feel like we've just played them a couple of years ago, wasn't it?
Got a message from a friend of the show, Rob, who said the reason we played on Friday night, even though we weren't on telly, is because City were playing on Saturday afternoon and it was a police thing. So thank you, Rob. That was helpful. A genuinely helpful answer to the question we had on the podcast last week.
Yeah, that whole can't play in the same city's nonsense. There's miles between the grounds.
Yeah, but it's about police resources, right? It's about numbers. Tories, Ed.
How much? Do you know how much they charge?
Tories have done an absolute number on them. They just literally, they've all slashed to the bone, aren't they?
Look, I've got a solution to this. All you do is bung a few quid to the Manchester Education Committee. They'll sort out the policing. No problem.
I guess I should predict a score for the Burnley game. I'm nervous about this one. I'm going to predict a 1-1 draw.
Oof.
Yeah, nervous.
Oof. All right. You've never been positive ever since you left Twitter, Paul. I think it's...
Oh, it's so nice to watch the games without the grumpiness of Twitter. Like even when we're playing well, I just know that out there's people moaning left and right about this, that, and the other, and it's so nice to be free of it and to just be able to think thoughts without having to broadcast them to the world.
Yeah. So most of them are going, "Ed, when's Paul coming back?"
I think the answer to that question, the longer this goes on, and it's only been 2 weeks, so I reserve the right to change this, I think the answer to that question might be almost definitely never. So, yeah.
That's what I tell them. And then I add a few 4-letter words. Which might include the use of self-felation. All right, that's it for the week. By the way, at Anton Alfie on Twitter.
Yeah, friend of the show, most definitely.
Friend of the show, does all those excellent videos and stuff like that. Says, are you bringing the play-out tunes back?
No, don't think we are we?
I don't know. You're VP in charge of play-out tunes.
We'll see. All right, on that note, we'll see you next week.
All right, have a good one. Bye now.
Glory, glory, Man United. That's me doing the play-out tunes, you see. That's the thing. Anyway, see ya. The Rantcast is produced by Tom Jenkins and supported by listeners like you. Head to patreon.com/Rantcast to find out more.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network. The new year brings new health goals and wealth goals. Protecting your identity is an important step. Your info is in endless places that could expose you to identity theft, leading to lost funds. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Resolve to make identity health and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast. Terms apply.